Hello and welcome to Men's Model Moments Midweek Model Meet, and this is the first of our sort of regular ongoing rhythm of the series stream. I don't know what you call it. So I've moved. Obviously, I had the 4 sections, so we're going to have unboxings. We're going to have the kind of group build. We're going to have the topic, whatever that is, and diorama. In the 4 different weeks, and tips and tricks on the odd weeks that are extra from that 4-week cycle. And I put the unboxing originally. I thought it would be the second week because I didn't think I'd necessarily have like enough for the unboxings. As it happens, I do. So obviously, I put up a post a couple of days ago, or yesterday. I can't remember when it was, on the different kits that I have to potentially unbox tonight. First, second, and third choices is what I asked for, and then with obviously an Excel sheet, you know me, I've worked out which of those were most wanted. So 3 points for the first choice, 2 points for a second choice, 1 point for a third choice. That kind of balances between the amount of people that want to see something and how much you want to see it. So hopefully when you voted, order was important. Some of you definitely was, because you were just like 13, 2, and 5, so that's good. Others just did it in numerical order, which I hope was your also preferential order. So bear that in mind for next time, if that wasn't something that you did. So we have, I've got 5 or 6 kits here, the top 5 or 6. What I will do then for the next time is remove those 5, obviously put 5 more in, or if I've got more than that, I'll remove any that didn't get any votes, because I presume that people didn't want to see them at all, weren't interested in those ones. And then, hopefully we should keep it interesting and not have stuff which is just lingering around forever that nobody's ever going to vote for. And hopefully if, something doesn't quite make it and you want to bump it up, then, you can bolster for it. And also it'll allow that list to be up a little bit longer for the following weeks. And I may add to it if kits come in, which may not be 100% fair, but, we'll see. Haven't quite worked out how that's going to be, but we'll get there in the end, I'm sure. So let's just have a little look at who is in chat. I think we've got a lot of regulars, which is always good to see. We've got Scale Models Dave, World War II Scale Models Dave. We've got Marcus. Welcome, Marcus. We've got Phil Pierce. We have Mario Saliba. We've got Simon's Modeling Shed. We have David Markey. We've got Drew. Got Julian. Julian Hall, that is. We've got Graham Green. Your paint should arrive, fingers crossed, tomorrow, maybe Friday, depending on the Royal Mail, of course. We have, just scrolling down. We've got Adrian Hook, we've got Stuart Bremer, we've got Black Skunk Works, we have Stuart and Travis. We've got, who else have we got in the chat at the moment? Just people saying hello to each other and hello to me, which is always nice. We've got Steve Foreman, and Keith, and scroll. We've got Jan Alec, got Jonix. We have Indy R1 Simon, and I think we're getting close to. We've got Hobby Time, Dave Fairclough, got Alex Smith, and Dave, World War II Scale Models Dave, gentleman and a scholar as always, has gifted 5 Men's Model Moments memberships. So the first thing to do if you receive one of those is to go to the YouTube comments. There's a members only post in that, and you can get access to the Discord chat. So the Discord server is where it's the easiest way to get a hold of me. We have group build going on there. We've got various sneak peeks and various chat. It's a good place to hang out. So thank you very much, Dave. Much appreciated. And I will make sure that the link to that is updated after this stream, because it does expire. Anyway, we have John Farrant. We've got Graham. Let's see. Scroll. We've got Spy Wilson. We've got Greg 57. And I think that brings us up to date. So I'm slightly skew-if. My camera's moved. And it'll move again because obviously when I show you the kits for unboxing, we'll switch across to my bench cam, as it were, after I've shown you kind of the macro view, as it were. So I'm going to move my keyboard out of the way and tell you that the first kit, which isn't really a kit, is from Airfix. 3 people requested it, but it was all as their first choice. No, sorry, 3 people? No, 5 people requested it as their first choice. And that is this, the World War II RAF Ground Crew. Now, when I saw this announced, I thought this was a great thing. In 48 scale, that is, 48 scale. I think sets like this really help with stuff like dioramas, there aren't that many available in 48 scale. ICM do some really good sets, but not seen this one from Airfix. Now, when I actually came to look at the rear of this, my excitement kind of died a little bit. So, and that's because these figures look a little bit, how can I say it, war gamesy. So I'll show you what I mean in close up. It's opened for the first time. This hasn't been opened before, so I've not actually seen the sprues. So I could eat my words here. Now, let me have you on the bench cam. We change you over. And let's get you guys across. So this is the main part, obviously. Oh, notice that little bit of interference pattern, as it were. And that's because I've got the virtual background on, which we don't want on this camera. I wish you could set up profiles for the different cameras, but you may be able to in StreamYard, but not at the level that I'm paying for, which is still far too much. And this looks great, right? Yeah, I can build this scene, get all of this stuff. Fantastic. Then you turn it over and you look at this, and I was like, okay, the proportions of these, I mean, some guys, this guy, he looks fine. But then others look a little bit like the helmet on that head is massive, and the proportions just look like a little bit, as I said, a little bit war gamesy, a little bit over accentuated in terms of the heads and stuff. So I don't know. We'll have a look. We'll see what's inside. This is an unboxing after all. Okay, so you get some rubberized tubing. I'm not going to open that because it's just bits of rubber tube. Okay, so I didn't actually realize, obviously we've got the standard Airfix instructions. A quick look at that. I shall just move this little beauty across as well. Don't mind if I do. More punk IPA. So, and then we get straight into the instructions. I mean, and they're going to be fairly straightforward. But you can kind of get it from these images. If these images are representative, they are a little bit on the cartoony side. I guess is my feel. Color call outs there as well. We've got a little doggo. I mean, this all looks pretty good, right? It's very clear. But you've got an oil bowser. You've got a trolley accumulator. And you have an ammo trolley. I think these are fantastic. I mean, oh, you've also got some chocks away. That's all pretty good. I think these items for 1/48 scale World War II RAF, not even diorama builders, just if you want something to give your model a little bit of flavor, these are fantastic. So that's good. However, we do also have figures, and just to let you know, this is not a particularly cheap set. This is I think it's £22.50. I think it's £25. I said it's £22.50. Okay. Typical Airfix, right? This is in a pretty appropriately sized bag. It could be a little bit smaller, but it's this one, which is in a bag which is almost twice as big as it needs to be. It's like, what's going on there? Oh dear, Airfix. This I need a new blade in this. Look how badly that was. It's tearing, not cutting. That's because I've been doing too much scraping with this, so it is not sharp. But that's fine because I'm only using it for pointing really here. So these are the oil barrels, the ammunition tray, and the accumulator, and these all look pretty good. So as I did with the Airfix Albion, I was quite impressed with the detail and the sculpting. I'm actually get you guys a little bit closer. Let's get you right in as much as I can. There we go. Because then you can really start to see, these wheels, the detail on these is pretty nice for 48 scale, on something which isn't meant to be the focus. These are a couple of little oil cans. You've got some nice detail on here, fire extinguisher. This is relatively fine. This is scale appropriate. It's not distractingly thick or anything. Same with these. You've got some nice detail. I think that's the accumulator motor. These are the adjoined chocks. So this all looks really quite nice. I mean, you've got a couple of Brownings here. The ammunition should really be good, more like a weapons trolley. Those are the chocks, individual chocks. So this is nice what I'm seeing here. You've got nice hinge detail and latch detail on these sections. This all looks pretty good. In fact, I quite like this as a separate sprue. So, a separate frame, separately sold. I think that would be quite nice. If you had that, and that was £15, £5 for each of the things. Yeah, could see that working. And then you have this. Now, straight away, I can tell you something about this without even opening this. This is not Airfix plastic. And I'll tell you why when I open this. Look at the frames. They are square. So Airfix don't design frames like this. And actually, when did I have this discussion? Was it I think it was on the private member stream. Oh, which is another thing you get as a member, is you get access to the private member stream. Every 2 weeks we do a private stream. which is not meant to be a paywall for anything. It's meant to be a reward for those who support me. That's the way I look at it. And I was saying about how I'm pretty sure I could identify most manufacturers from their framing, their sprue, right? This is not Airfix. Now, there were a couple of options of who this could be. I've got a sneaking suspicion that this is going to be associated with Warlord Games, who obviously have more figure sculptors that are used to making figures. Now, actually, when you get to the figures themselves, they aren't as cartoony as I feared. I'm not so sure about these helmets, though. That, to me, is too deep for a World War II British helmet. I think it looks odd. It's also rather different from this one. These two are different. I think I would avoid the helmeted heads. This one again is a different sort of size and a different look to it. So yeah, you do have optional heads in a lot of cases, and I think I would avoid those helmeted heads. But the sculpting on the other stuff, hands are always a good indicator. These look pretty good. The arms are nicely proportioned. You know, this one's holding some sort of tool. You've got an ammo belt here. I'm not sure about the ammo belt. I've got etched brass that I'd probably replace that with, but that's a minor niggle. The poses are quite nice. Not sure about some of the feet. I say this because I've also got some ICM. I should have brought them, really, some ICM figures for comparison. I mean, that's quite a thick foot there, but yeah. Again, minor niggle. Again, sculpting these hands, that's pretty good. It's funny because a lot of modern figure makers have these rectangular sprue sections. Games Workshop is an obvious one. There's got like your spats kind of things here. Some nice detail on this pilot figure. That all looks pretty good. Parachute and all the webbing. It's pretty nice. The gloves. Again, same thing on this one. Nice straps. Parachute detail looks good. Pilots actually are very good. I really quite like those pilots. Have a look at the face on the pilot. We can get that. It's not bad. It's not bad. I mean, you've got features that certainly you can work with. The mask. That's all pretty good. Actually, I am pleasantly surprised because I was expecting, after looking at the box, these to be worse than this. But I don't like these helmeted heads. The non-helmeted, just the uniform hat, the uniform cap hats, I think look much better. So this keeps unfocusing. I can switch off the autofocus in my own software, but I can't switch off the autofocus on this camera in StreamYard. Again, just another annoyance of StreamYard, but hey ho. So overall, not bad. Now, price. What do you get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You get 10 figures plus the bit that we all want to see, plus the doggo. Come on, focus on the dog. There we go. Which is quite fun. You know, that's adds a little bit of character. It's a shame that it's just one pose, you know, because otherwise you're going to see a lot of dogs that are the same. But you've got some decent fur texture that you can work with. So, you know, I'll forgive them that. It's an extra thing, isn't it? So 10 figures plus the dog, you know, you've got quite a lot of different poses. You've got quite a lot of different stuff going on, different tools. I don't think that's bad. So 10 figures plus the spirit. Look, you can even see the difference in color there from the, this is normal Airfix. Yeah, this is normal Indian production. To this, which isn't. In fact, let's have a look at the box and see what it says in terms of production. Just lift you guys up. Now, as always, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning, if you've got a question or comment, please put it in capitals, as in question, or comment in capitals, or QQQ or CCC in capitals. Just helps me pull it out, especially when I am doing other things, much as Simon's Modeling Shed has done here. And he says the figures go together quite well, which is nice to know. Also, thank you, Marcus, and welcome. Hopefully we will be seeing you on the Sunday streams. Julian says, I think the rear pick is just badly photographed, foreshortening by unforeseen forced perspective and depth of field. Yeah, I think you're probably right there. Well, I think also, Julian, as well as that, I think you're probably right. But also they do use a lot of the helmeted heads, which I think does not help because they are different sizes. I think that is adding a false sense of, you know, how big the heads are. Whereas the figures that I said looked okay, like this guy, are the ones that we said, you know, in the box. It's just like, oh, look, he's got a normal cap and, you know, all the proportions are correct. So it's £25 for this. Now, if you think 10 figures, $250 a figure, you've also got, you know, these three pieces and the little dog and a few accessories and stuff. So you could say you really got 15 kind of equivalents there. So £25. I don't think this is actually that bad. I think it's decent. Anyway, what I was looking for, if I can find my glasses, is where does it say this is made? If indeed it does say. Interestingly, it has two numbers here. And I do have another Airfix kit, so I can look at this. That is an Airfix number, but this number I'm not so sure about. Does it tell us here? Manufactured by Hornby Hobbies. Nothing there about production. The other side. No. We don't really have anything here indicating where this was molded or produced. Does it say produce of India, produce of wherever, or manufactured wherever? Does it say anything here? Yeah, 10 figures and a dog. No, it just says manufactured by Hornby Hobbies. Interesting. Might have a little look on the scale mates as well for that. So just have a look at the comments. Anybody have any ideas? Or so yes, it is 1/48 scale. So these are, we're looking at is the 1/48 World War II RAF ground crew. Oh, we got Zinzanin. Good to see you. Hurricane Hobbies. A few other people. Craig Jukes popped in. So, no clue as to where that is. Let's have a quick look on scale mates. Let me put you guys. Right, let me get scale mates up first. And then I can add that to the screen so that you guys can see what I'm doing. It's better than just looking at a keyboard. Right, there we go. Let's put that on the other screen. There we go. We don't really want to see the screen while I'm doing that. Why is that? Why is that still there? I don't want that. Just no. There. StreamYard is so annoying. So let's go for World War II RAF. Figures, we want 1/48th. And we want Airfix. And it doesn't have any detail about them at all. Marvelous. In fact, it's weird because it doesn't even have the former release of them, which is a bit odd. Ah, no, that's the 1/76 scale. Ah. Well, your guess is as good as mine, guys. Dutch Dave, welcome. Dutch Dave says, funny thing is Revell has a set with a dog as well, number 026. Okay. So one thing I've learned in ScaleMates, a really easy way to find a specific item. If you have their item number, you can get it straight away. Well, that is definitely a different set, right? Interestingly, I do have this set as well. When did this come out? Does it say? Download the instructions and have a look. Not sure. Okay. So it's not the same set. But I think it's a decent set, actually, which is nice because I wasn't expecting that to necessarily be the case. So thank you to those who requested that, because it probably would. And it has restored my faith in that set. So I'd kind of put it to one side, thinking, oh, it's going to be like some bolt action kind of proportioned things, which kind of, for me, in a scale model scenario, kind of pulls away my suspension of disbelief, I guess. But those actually look pretty decent. I'm interested, though, to know who molded those figures. Or who sculpted them, because that wasn't Airfix. I would bet money on that not being Airfix. That is whether they've commissioned it, which is quite possible, right? From a figure maker, or made the tool and then shipped it out to India or whatever. But that is not Airfix's standard. That is Airfix plastic. That isn't. So even if it's produced by Airfix. So I'd be interested to know that. If anybody has any ideas where that might be. But that set would go really well with the Albion, the Airfix Albion Refueler. It would be great as well, I think. What I might do is dig out that Revell ground set as well as a comparison, because together you've got a really good varied kind of set of figures there, and then with ICM figures as well, which depending, because if you've got very good figures with average figures, you can make the average figures look bad by comparison, and vice versa. But that's pretty good to have all of that kind of those options. Oh, Simon, 2011. That I presume that's for the Revell set, right? Because yeah, I think the Airfix set was first tooled in 2015, which I think was after they had Hornby invested in Warlord Games. So it may have been. It just looks suspiciously like Warlord Games to me, but we'll see. More investigation may be warranted. So there we go. 34 minutes in, we've already got a kit down, which is good. Which brings us on to the next item on the list, which is a little bit bigger scale. As I just get rid of the Airfix stuff there, all in its box, together with that hose. Yeah. So yeah, maybe using those in the future. Next item, slightly larger, 1/35 scale. We have the Hobbyboss Jagdtiger. This is the Henschel production Jagdtiger. Much bigger box, massive, great thing. Good old-fashioned German late war heavy armor. Lots of potential for doing lots of nice bits and bobs. So it's obviously Hobbyboss's very sturdy cardboard. So top opening box, obviously, really heavyweight duty box, which is one of the things I really like about the Hobbyboss I Love kit, trumpeter. Most of the Chinese manufacturers tend to package things really well. You've also got this separate compartment. I'll put you on the desk cam in a moment, but obviously this is a little large to encompass everything in that camera. So instruction booklet is just black and white, looks fairly standard, not terribly interesting. Then we have the painting guide, which is in full color. It looks a little bit washed out because obviously virtual screen, so all the green bits kind of get washed out to gray or invisible. But I'll show you that when we get to the BenQ cam, desk cam. You get 4 schemes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, which is pretty nice. And they are all obviously all late war, so they are all of a type, but they are significantly different, sufficiently different to matter, I think, which is good. You also then get an overview sheet, which kind of shows you some of the, it's kind of like an advert really, but it shows you some of the pertinent pieces, like, you know, they've, well, again, I'll show you on this camera because you can't really see it there. And then you actually have the package screw frames. So one of the things I think Hobbyboss does very well, and I think a lot of manufacturers could learn from, is where they do this. So everything is, firstly, everything is individually bagged. Now, yes, you could say, well, that's not great for the environment. But, I mean, they are all recyclable. So, you know, they are all polyethylene, which is recyclable. It's number 4. So it's got all that information printed on it, which, you know, people often, you know, have a go at like Chinese manufacturers for not caring about this stuff. I've seen, you know, European manufacturers that don't do as good a job as this. So that's not bad, I think. So, but also, so everything is individually bagged, which obviously helps. The reason it helps, if you're not aware, is if you have 2 frames which are in separate bags and they rub against each other in the box, that's what happens. Pretty much nothing, because they can't access each other. If these were in the same bag, all of these little pieces can hook onto other little pieces, and that's where you can get bending, get braking, get leverage against one part against the other. So that's nice. But in addition to that, if they've got fragile parts on there, so we've got some pieces which actually have more dimension to them, like here on this edge, they then put protective foam around it, which is, they really want to make sure that the parts get to you in a serviceable condition, which is the whole point of packaging, right? And I can't think of the number of times I've been disappointed in a product, not because it's not been a good product, but because the packaging that has been put in has been insufficient, so that when I receive it, it is damaged in some way. And if it's damaged in some way, it either needs, you know, it's either minor damage, which you can live with, or it's major damage, which then needs replacement. So you don't have your product. And then you've got to get into the whole customer care thing, and that's not good. So I really commend companies that do this wherever they are. Hobbyboss do a good job of this, right? The other thing I think is really good about the Hobbyboss packaging, and here, let me turn you across to the other camera. Bear with me because I will need to also change and take off that your background just to make sure you don't get any odd effects. Is you see here at the end, not only do you have this thick corrugated box, which is double, right? Now compare that. Okay, we are talking of a different price point, but importantly, I will say, not hugely a different price point from this. And yet, look at what you're getting here. You're getting a single ply end opening box, right? That does not compare. Now, that's £25. This, I believe, is 45. I can't remember. It's on my website. Now, it's not double the price of those figures, and this is what you're getting. So, you know, it's just a feeling that you get from products. You know, a feeling about a product is almost as important as the product itself, right? Especially in, you know, a luxury hobby like this, which, you know, modeling is a luxury hobby. If you're struggling to feed yourself, you're not modeling. But they've also got, so not only do you have this thick exterior box, but you've also got this sub compartment here, you know, which I think is actually glued in. I can't move that. And that contains these other parts, so main hull pieces to keep them, you know, free from everything else. They are also bagged. And then you've got the also bagged decal sheet and the bagged and backed and wrapped photo etch sheet. So this, I talk about packaging probably too much. Too much for some people's liking. You know, when I did my "What is the best model company in the world" video, and I talked about packaging, and somebody commented, you know, what's packaging got to do? What's a box got to do with how good a company is? And it's like, well, a lot actually, because the box is how they get the product to you as they intended. And as anybody's bought a Revell kit, and we've got a Revell kit here, will know that does make a big difference. And if we see the difference between this, in fact, I'm going to show you. So that was the Hobbyboss packaging. This is one of the other kits that we have tonight on the list. This is the Star Wars Revell speeder bike. This is more expensive than that Hobbyboss kit. Okay. We have an end opening box, and it's thicker card than the Airfix one, but it's a lot bigger box. But that's single ply, right? That is, this damage was caused in transit, right? It was in an outer, and yet it's got this damage on it. You can tell there's a lot of room in this box. So I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit. If I open this, I'm going to pick you guys up. Let's have a little look. Look how much room there is. Okay, here's my hand for size comparison. Okay, that is my hand. That is finger depth before I'm touching any plastic. This is how much room it has to move around, so I can put my hand at the back of this quite comfortably. So the chances of this being damaged, yeah, look how much this is being shoved around in the box. So when I talk about, I can't get you back on the stand, sorry. There. I mean, you could get that Airfix kit in its entirety into this box without having any issues at all there with space. Compared to this, which again, you know, all of this in, we are at the top of this box. This box is appropriately sized for everything that's inside it, right? I don't think people talk about that enough. So I do to compensate. So here you can see, I'm going to take the box away so you can see getting these out a little bit better. So again, another one with no foam around piece here. So far, we've got one through, one frame, I should say, two, a three, four, 5, 6. So they do double bag some of the duplicate frames. which is fine because if you think these have the same components on, so they're going to tend to be kind of aligned and not kind of hook onto each other that much, generally. I've lost count now. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A lot of tracks. So that's a lot of tracks. Individual link tracks, which, you know, they will form, they will look good. They're a bit of a pain in the arse, but they're not as bad as some. Obviously, those metal ones that I'm putting on the King Tiger would be much better. But then we've also got the two for that. So in terms of value, you know, look at what you're getting for your money. Just in terms of how it's presented, the sheer volume of stuff, for me, this obviously like makes an immediate impression, right? If we then actually go to, let's open the main hull here without stabbing myself. Because fortunately, my scalpel is completely blunt, so I am safe. Let's actually have a look on this. You can see we've got some nice surface texture here. Again, bring you in a little bit closer. To see that, if it will actually focus. Come on. You can see this isn't water damage. This is steel texture. So this isn't just a flat piece of plastic. I mean, it is a flat piece of plastic, but it does have some texture on there, which is nice to see. You can tell that because if you look at the other side, that's what the flat plastic looks like. Right, so this is deliberate steel texture. So you've also got the weld detail on the edges here, the interlinked armor. Look how thick that armor was on the front of the Jagdtiger. So it's not just that you're getting, you know, a lot for your money, and it's very well protected and packaged, but the actual quality of what you're getting, you know, that is, if my camera will focus, it's obviously better than the quality of that. That is pretty tremendous, to be honest. I'm going to have a look now. Bear with me. Oh, no, I've just gone to the wrong website. There we go. And if I just search for, you put it down. Okay, you could take that across and remove that one, add this one. So this is the page from our website. So it's £43, this kit. So even at full RRP, £47, it's not double the price of the Airfix ground crew set. Now I know it's a completely different thing. It's, if you're looking for Airfix, if you're looking for ground crew at 48 scale, this is not going to help you. But just in terms of relative, you know, value, I think that's quite impressive. Oh, come on. There we go. And this is a pretty chunky beast, right? You're not going to get bigger than the Jagdtiger in World War II. Just to give you a side-by-side comparison, for those of you who have been watching me build the Camas, Let's just get it so you can actually see. That's the Camas. So I talked about how the Camas was a big old beast. She is massive, bigger than a Jagdtiger. Sans gun, obviously. Obviously, that piece doesn't normally live there. That's here. Kind of like that somewhere. Anyway, that's not what we're looking at. So let me just scroll up. Oh, Mystery Box Nick is in. Good evening. Kercheval is in. Good to see you. Just scrolling to see if there's any comments I've missed. As Julian said, if I recall, the Airfix 124 scale Spitfire has the sprues separated by brown paper sheets, protects the sprues and are recyclable. Well, it has, I think that's only for a couple. I think it only has a couple of those. The rest are plastic bags, and of course that is twice the price of this kit. But yes, they do. Fair chance of crushing damage to the valve box and the kit inside. Yes, absolutely. Revell has made an announcement they will start new top opening boxes with all new products in 2026. Yes. Indeed, they have, which is great. So Nick Johnson says Hobbyboss and Trumpeter are the best pack models out there. Yeah, I think I would probably agree with that. Oh, go for it painting. The Model Ship World Championship 2025 will be held in Budapest this week. A report will soon arrive on my channel. We'll look out for that. Go for it. And if you haven't seen Go for It's channel, there's some great coverage of European model shows. Well worth checking out. Travis says, my Hobbyboss KT has 3 parts per link. I'm probably just going to get aftermarket to save my sanity. Yeah, I mean, the metal tracks that I got for the King Tiger were incredibly simple in terms of being able to put together. I've got a link of one here somewhere if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. These. Early type track as well, like this had. So the 2 different track link types, and it's just a pin, single pin that goes all the way through. Really simple to assemble, fully functional metal. If you can afford this sort of thing to go on a tank like this, I would recommend going metal tracks, definitely. Let's get some of these other bags open. So single piece lower hull. You got really nice hatch. Well, they're not hatches, are they, as such? Access panel pieces. I don't know what they are, particularly in the Jagdtiger. But really nice, nice bolt detail on these. Again, you've got nice texture, steel texture on here. Bit looks pretty good. Just quick dry fitting. Obviously not trimmed at all. It doesn't look like I have any problems there. So that looks pretty nice. Let's see what we have. Let's open some wheels to look at some running gear. looks like you've got the torsion bars here. So you've got the torsion bars for the inside, and then multi-part wheels. So this is the Henschel. So this is basically, they're called Henschel and Porsche, but that's not strictly how they were really referred to by the Germans, but it's a useful designation for us, I guess. But this is kind of what went into production running gear. So you've got some nice detail in these wheels. All the running gear pieces look quite nicely detailed. You know, even these towing lugs look pretty good. Got some, not quite sure where these bits go. They look like welded on brackets, maybe the track support brackets. These are really nicely molded, these little grab handles, but I usually find, even with single bladed nippers, when you cut these off, you can sometimes deform these, and then you've got to trim this piece up, and often it kind of like makes this piece look less convincing. It's really, really easy to replace these with just bent wire. And they're far more durable once you make them as well. So that's something you may want to bear in mind. So that looks pretty nice. Let's see what else. So you get 4 of those frames, which makes sense. One of these, which is obviously the return roller, return idler, and the main drive sprocket. Looks like you've also got part of the exhaust here. I quite like this solution to exhausts that Hobbyboss have come up with here. So it's a 2-part molding, but this part includes the end, so you don't get that, you know, half of a hole. And then the second piece is on the back here. So that's quite a nice way of getting some better realism, I guess, in the part. Come on, focus. Come on, focus. Yeah, it's not going to. You know, without having to compromise anything here. And obviously you can drill that out more, and you've got a starting position for your drill. I mean, everything here is very nicely molded, even these really tiny pieces here. So that all looks pretty good. A little bit more involved than the ICM kit, the ICM King Tiger. Not hugely so. Right, now, the thing is, I quite like this because you can just cut this on one end, just cut the joining tape, and then this is just wrapped around. So this is protecting this very thin piece here, and this, you know, more proud part there. Looks like you get different gun mantlets on that. The only detractor I could say on this kit I can see is I don't think it takes any, or I don't think it has any single piece barrel in it. So all of this is plastic. There are no metal barrels or anything in it. So it does have a two-piece barrel. But it also does have, it looks like, a gun mounting and if Hobbyboss is anything to go by, probably most of the actual breach as well. Yeah, I mean this is all part of the breach, isn't it? So some nice detail on these pieces, some beautifully fine casting. Again, just looks quite impressive overall. I mean, you've got these big pieces cast, and then you've got this, you know, very fine piece, and then this, which is extremely delicate, with this little extended pin on the end there. Interestingly, this frame is warped, but it doesn't seem to have warped to the parts, which is, I don't know how they managed that. The barrel is straight, but the frame is slightly warped. That's quite a trick. So I'll just open one more of these. I don't think, unless you guys want to particularly see how many, you know, all the other frames, I don't think we're going to get much more information, if you like, by going exhaustively through every single frame. It's not like one frame is suddenly going to be poorly made compared to the others. I mean, I'm not normally a big fan of injection molded cables, but these look pretty good for injection molded cables. But again, you know, you could easily replace them with copper wire should you wish. These are the sprocket mountings, the dry sprocket mountings. I mean, you've got this huge support here for, this is just the turret ring, you know, the outer turret ring mounting for the anti-aircraft machine gun. And then you've got this incredibly thin, I mean, that is probably 0.5 millimeter thick in diameter. Incredibly thin. I will probably break that now before putting it away. You've also got, I mean, these pieces here, again, incredibly finely cast. Molded, I should say. I got told off for saying something was cast. We all know what we mean, don't we? Very nice. So with all of that, let's dig out the instructions and those camo schemes I showed you before. Give you a bit of a view on those. Start with the camo schemes because those are nice. So here you have just adjust that a little bit so you can see. We should start at number 1, really, shouldn't we? So first one, 3-color camo. You know, I think we're all familiar with the 3-color camo. You know, the decal placement, it looks like you've got some small decals to put places. Let's have a little look. It looks standard fare, really. Decals aren't very interesting on tanks. Tank destroyers, as this is, of course. Okay, so you've got the rear-mounted defensive MG on this, not the turret ring. Oh, wait, I bet that frame is also for the King Tiger. So here, this is obviously ambush camo. You've got the overpainting on the 3 colors to break it up, dapple it. Again, all looks pretty good. You've got colors, the color guide. This is another thing I like about Hobbyboss kits, is that they're citing more than one. They don't have any skin in the game here, so they're giving you a wide choice. Mr. Hobby, I've never heard of a Crisian. But Vallejo, Model Master, Tamiya, and Humbrol. I mean, that's a pretty big range. That's very commendable. The only thing better than this is to actually give you like an FS number or a RAL number that you can reference to then, you know, choose your own paint. But this is pretty damn good, right? And again, for £43, I think this is pretty good. So same again, you've got slightly differently applied, so not quite as dense type of ambush camo. We refer to it as ambush camo, it wasn't at the time, I don't think. And then just a sand yellow and olive gelb. Sorry, olive grun. Sand gelb and olive grun example at the end there. That looks pretty good. The little sort of advert sheet that I was referring to before, this kind of just goes through same stuff as it does, I believe, on the website. You know, so it shows like the decals that you use. It shows the limited amount of photo etch you have. You know, some very tiny pieces here, but actually the pieces that I think matter are kind of, you know, the grills for the back. You know, that's the main stuff, right? I mean, some of the other things, like they give you these. They give you little brass rings to put on those exhaust stacks that I showed you before. I mean, I wouldn't bother with that. I don't think that's going to add to the accuracy or look of the kit. You have some really nice features though, like you've got the whole internal detail of that whole MG, which is pretty good. So yeah, not bad at all, I think that. And then the actual instructions themselves, black and white, so they are fairly basic in that respect, but they are booklet format. What I always like to see is the frame layout, because that shows you what you should expect, right? Oh, also, I've missed. I didn't show you the transparent part, so you actually do have transparent parts for the optics, so the periscopes and stuff, which again is something that a lot of kits don't feature. They just have them blocked in, and then you have to deal with them. So it's nice to have that option. I mean, you can still paint over them if you prefer to create that effect yourself, but and then it's basically showing you the differences in how you can build the kit, type 1, type 2, and it's showing you the bits that you need for that, which is, I mean, basically the differences in them, I think, are going to be in the, in the gun, where the MG mounts and the track links mounted on the main hull sides there. Instructions, I've always found Hobbyboss instructions, let me get you a little bit higher there, I think you can go, there we go. I always found Hobbyboss instructions to be reasonably good. You're slightly skewed. There we go. You know, they're very clear. It's obvious what you've got to do. There's not too many things going on in a single step, but I like that it does this kind of thing, because I always get really annoyed when they like make one of these being put in as a single step. It's like, come on. It's obvious what you've got to do there, right? So these all look pretty good. Obviously, without actually building one of these, it's difficult. Yeah, I mean, these might drive you insane. Some people love this. Some people hate it. You know, I like individual track links. The fact you've got to put the horns on, I'm not a big fan of. But you could do that in batch, you know, whilst listening to a stream or something. But this is all standard kind of assembly stuff. Here is that hull MG detail. You've got the full hull MG assembly there. I'm trying to get to the gun to see what it's giving you there. Okay, the way that the hatches are built, you could build it with the hatches open. So you could have somebody inside getting shells handed to them, for instance, and he could be blocking the interior, so you don't have to have anything really of an interior in there. But I want to get to the gun because I want to see how much. Okay, here we go. How much of that? Okay, so you do get the entire gun assembly, basically. That's the entire gun breech. So it's not a full interior model kit, but you're getting enough there that you could like open some of the hatches and see that stuff inside, you know, without it looking awful. Here you've got the Type 1 that it's talking about. Here you've got the Type 2. You've got all the differences there. These are a bit busy, but I don't think that's particularly onerous. Looks pretty good. Nice set of instructions. Overall, I like that. I think that's pretty good. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Let me fix that. Why isn't that? Oh, because I switched it off. User error. Apologies. Right, let me have a look at the comments, see what I've missed. Now you see, this is where the hive mind is really useful. So Robert Hutchinson says, Airfix kit design and tooling 2015, made in China and India. Have kit A50172 ready for battle gift set. Interesting. A50172. I'm going to look that up on ScaleMates as well. A50172. Oh, I'm not typing in there. A50172. Problem with too many windows open. Results found none. That's because I put a 1 and not an A. Ready for battle. Airfix 148th. Indeed. Oh, yes. And basically, that included the Airfix Hurricane, the Albion, and the... in fact, let me just show you. Why am I talking about something that I could just show you? Picture shows 1,000 words, right? So this is what Robert is talking about. Thank you, Robert, for the information. Battle of Britain ready for battle set. So you are getting... Does it actually say? Oh, it doesn't really say here. But you can see you're getting the Airfix Hurricane here. Can you see my mouse? Why can't you see my mouse on that screen when you could before? That's weird. But you're getting the Hurricane there. You're getting the what is it called? The Jeep thing, basically the British Jeep thing. The Albion refueler and this set, all in one box. The Bedford MWD, that's the one. Which is interesting that you're getting all of that, and it says China. So obviously Airfix don't imprint in China, so, or, you know, it's not their main tooling center. So I wonder where that plastic comes from. Wonder whose that is. Curiouser and curiouser. Julian says, I wonder how many return stroke requests for replacement parts Hobbyboss get. Not many, I reckon. Yeah. I mean, I know I haven't had anybody in the shop who's had a problem with a Hobbyboss or a trumpeter kit. I have had people come in. Get this. Say, okay, so the chap who received the free starter set, thank you, Adrian, that Andy has also carried on the tradition of. Not had anybody in the shop yet suitable for giving that to, but it'll happen. But he got a Messerschmitt BF 109F, so a pretty recent kit, recent stock. One of the colors was completely dried up. So, you know, that's okay. That's the paint, but, you know, it's happened more than once with Airfix kits for me. Yeah, and John says the Hobbyboss kits I've had have no defects at all. Yeah. And Travis, yeah. So the only thing I'm suspect about Hobbyboss is the research that went into the schemes, though armor is more basic than aircraft. So I think that's the thing that you've got to say with Hobbyboss and Trumpeter. Sometimes their research isn't the same as like Airfix's or Edwards or whoever. But a lot of the time it's because they don't have access to the subjects in the same way. So they're working more like model companies did in the 70s and 80s, you know. Because of course they're based in China, so they're not doing LiDAR scans of stuff at Duxford and things. So accuracy can sometimes be questioned. I've never had a kit so far which has had any accuracy issues, or none that I've noticed, certainly. I'm sure they exist, and maybe the preference is higher, but the volume of stuff they're putting out with that quality, and you know, all the packing and stuff we've just been through, it's pretty impressive, I must say. You know. Oh, thank you, Julian. Christian is a Mr. Hobby paint range. Well, there we go. You learn something every day. Another range that's difficult to get in the UK. So yeah, fancy Das Werks Jagdpanther, £22. Well, it's more like I think the cheapest you can get it for is about 23, about 22.95 or something. It's £25 basically normally. Plus you've got to add postage onto that, of course. But yeah, it's still, and Tacom basically is the Tacom kit, you know, Das Werk. They do make some, or they did make some kits themselves, but most of their stuff is repurposed, often Tacom, but sometimes other manufacturers. For instance, the Jaguar 2, I believe, is the Revell kit. So, which is interesting because I can get the Das Werk one, but I can't get the Revell. It's weird, yeah. And yeah, cheaper than Tamiya's 1/48th kit, indeed. Brian, any update on the paint mixing app? No. So it's had to go on a bit of a hiatus, basically because Casey has been on holiday. My spectrophotometer never arrived after 6 weeks of waiting for it. So I've been unable to do any more, to create any data for the app. I've ordered another one. It's going to be another, what is it, another week and a bit before I get mine. I can actually start to generate data. Casey's working on the full Tamiya range. So at the moment, we only have about half of the Tamiya range in, which is problematic because a lot of the key paints, a lot of the paints we're missing have key pigments that you need for mixing. And I don't want to release something even for beta testing that is not going to be able to do what it's for, right? The ICM paints work absolutely fantastically. That's why I've been using ICM paints in my recent paint videos, which is one of the reasons, including spraying them. But not for Tamiya. Because, for instance, I think we stop currently at like XF58 or XF60 or something. And there are some really important paints after that. We don't have things like pink, which is a really important color for mixing. So once those are done, once the Tamiya range is done, it will be being pushed out to people in like YouTube members of the channel who will agree to beta test it, and then we can iron out any kinks and things. After that, we can release, and then it's a matter of data, right? If we want other ranges in, it takes a tremendous amount of work to get a single paint in the data, because you can't just get a paint and scan it and chuck it in. It doesn't work that way. You have to mix it with white, and you have to mix it with black, and you have to do, like, say, you have to do a ladder, basically. You have to do a mix of, ideally, say 5 with white, 5 with black, and so say 10, let's say nice even round number, 10 per paint, just to get the raw data, right? Which is obviously a lot. So if you've got a paint range of 10 paints, that's 100 samples you've got to create on the cards that I don't think I've got one here at the moment. And then, all of that has to go in, has to have all the Casey stuff applied to it, whatever that is. The magic has to have the magic applied to it, so that it can then be used. But we'll just be doing the acrylics to start with, and then we can look at, do we add the lacquers, etc. Okay. So, next kit. The next kit you guys wanted to see was the Airfix 1/72 B17 Fortress 3. But I also have, with just 1 point difference, I've got 3 or 4 different kits, which I'm going to do first, because what time have we got? I think that would be a better bang for your buck. And I just got to work out where I put them. Oh, here we go. So I think this will be easy and quick. So again, more bang for our buck. And these are landing mats. These are ICM. So we have them in 1/72 scale, 1/48 scale, 1/35 scale. And as a bonus, we also have these dragon's teeth. So, told you get more bang for your buck, because these are going to be very easy to do, very easy to look at. And so we're going to do these first. Then I think I'm going to defy your will and do something else, a surprise kit. And then we will potentially have the B17 for another time. But the B17 isn't a new kit, it's just a new scheme. So this is the sound of me struggling with a box. I'll get there eventually. There we go. That was just the top, the overleaf part. Let me bring you guys to the bench. So here we have typical ICM over Oversleeve. Come on, focus. Because it doesn't really have anything to. There we go. Oversleeve plus sturdy box with inside instruction sheet, which of course is going to be very basic because the ubiquitous ICM paint thing. The Marston map just basically shows you, yeah, you get 8 of these frames, and that's how it goes together, right? Which is kind of obvious, but you know. But I actually think this is a really good product. It's not particularly interesting, right? But if you want to quickly display a model and you don't want to make a base, you don't want it, you know, to do anything particularly fancy, that is a very easy way. Let's just very quickly nip one of these out. So I have my nippers here. ICM plastic is very easy to deal with. Let's just quickly free that from its retaining sprue. Let's get you in. And there we go. So this is 1/72nd scale. So you can see you have the individual pieces of matting. Got the hole, the grooves. I mean, it's very basic stuff, right? But if you want to quickly display an aircraft, and I think what one of these sets could easily display, so you've got 8 frames. If you think a couple of these together, okay, I'm literally just putting it together with my fingers and I haven't trimmed at all. Okay, if it was trimmed, that would fit perfectly. There we go. In fact, it does. So it's not sitting flat because I haven't trimmed the edges, but that fits pretty well. If you trimmed it and put it together, 4 of those is going to be enough for a 1/72nd scale fighter scale, fighter size subject. And put 2, 4, 6 together. Probably you get a 2-engined. 8 together. It's going to be. So I'm making signs now that you can't see. You're going to have this sort of area, yeah, which is going to be more than enough for a a twin-engined aircraft like a BF-109 or not BF-109, a BF-110 or a Blenheim or whatever, Because yes, it's Marston Mat, but that doesn't stop you having a captured 109 or whatever. So I think this is a really neat product. I think it's quite a clever, the way it's done, I think executed is quite clever. Fits together nicely. You could use lots of these, one set I think is going to be enough to do a couple of fighters on. You can get more sets and build out a bigger area. The 48th scale and the 35th scale obviously work in exactly the same way. In fact, let's go to the 1/35th scale, and this is the M8A1. This is the later US version. And here you can see this one, a little more detailed. Obviously, it's a different pattern, and you're getting individual pieces, but you're still getting that staggered thing, because then obviously that allows you to do square pieces. You get 4 frames, I think, in each box. Yeah, and it says the area 210 by 336, so you can work out what you'd need for any particular thing. This is useful not just for aircraft, of course, because you can have you know, some guys talking at the edge of an airfield or whatever. So I think this is one of those little boring additions that actually punches well above its weight. So in the same vein, we have these dragon's teeth anti-tank obstacles, obviously modern anti-tank obstacles, or relatively modern anti-tank obstacles, I should say. 35th scale, you get 4 of these frames, and you get 6 dragon's teeth on each. And as you can see, you've got dragon's teeth, you've got the base, and then you've got the little carrying hook. There's obviously the concrete is cast over the steel to allow it to be picked up, you know, with a tractor or whatever, moved around the tank recovery vehicle or whatever. How you want to put your dragon's teeth. So come on, focus. There we go. So there we go. Not much to say about them. You know, it's fairly basic, but the good thing about having them in plastic is, of course, these will take weathering. Like, you can chip these with a scalpel, or you can drill them. Whatever, you can use sprue glue and plasticard on the back because they're hollow, so they're not going to be, you know, not going to be a lot of work to work with. So having them in styrene means that they can be easily worked rather than being in plaster, which makes them obviously heavier. And, you know, yes, you can get some casting texture on there, which is great, but they're a bit of a pain to work with sometimes, plaster. You have these tiny little casting hooks, not casting hooks, steel moving hooks, you know, just for them to hook under and then move them around. So quite neat. And again, just a nice little additional thing. Mini Art are very good at doing these kinds of things as well. And well, they also stack quite pleasingly. But Julian had to leave us. Good to see you, Julian. Take care. See you next one. Right. So not going to do the Airfix thingamabob. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Different camera. There we go. I won't bother with the virtual background for the time. Don't need to see the symbols once more. I've seen them very many times before. But what I'm going to do is show you a little bonus, because this arrived today. So I had one pre-order, and so that will go out. Well, it won't go out tomorrow because it's got to get packaged. These came in quite late because there was some other stuff ordered with it. This is, of course, the 9C Flying Dray. So this is the recent Beer Away edition of the Mark 9. Made in the UK. It still has the embossed Airfix bag. You can just see that there. Box, I meant. Still can't open it. I've not seen what's in this, so you are experiencing this as I do. Right, so there we go. Importantly, it has this, which my Spitfire, when it first came, didn't have, which I didn't notice, as you will know if you've seen that video. So here we have the frames, not bagged at the top here. So that's the fuselage transparencies, which all look okay, although that one is almost detached. And then said piece of paper with wing, another piece of paper, lower wing, and then you have the Airfix kit below. So all of this individually bagged frames, just as the Mark IX before. I won't bother with any of that because if you want to see a Mark IX unboxing, I have videos on that. Then we have the bits that we're actually interested in, which is this. This is what you get. This is the extra bit. Plus new schemes. New schemes. A new book. And if I can get it out, new decal sheet. So let me put these frames back in here. I'll do all the protective stuff later. You can see what you're getting for the extra money in this set. So let me pop you back onto the bench cam. It's called a BenQ, so that is almost bench, isn't it? So let's put that to the side a second. Okay, so here are your new decals. I mean, this is obviously immediately quite appealing. These markings here, that's quite cool. This is a much nicer color than the rather lurid symbols that were supplied in the original kit. I think these, are all the same as before. These are all your instrument decals. So the cockpit in this looks great. These are common Insignia bits and bobs. So it all looks pretty nice. Polish squadron markings for this version. So it looks great. Not that we had any doubt that the decal sheet wouldn't be great. When you have those schemes, let's see. It's A. So this is one of the said flying drays with your extra parts. This is the beer barrel delivery system. We've got decals for the brewery on the barrel. Quite nice. The only thing that I'm disappointed in is that there is only one beer delivery one, which seems like a bit of a miss, considering if you want this, then they're basically saying you have to build it in scheme A. And why would you buy the set if you didn't want to do that? So, you know, it's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. That. Okay, now to the bits that we're really interested in. These are the Eduard supplied resin parts. Come on, focus. Thank you. Let's get them out of these bags because that will help. So we have very helpfully, a canopy mask. You can't really see much there. You can kind of just see the edges there as I go against the light, which I would have expected. So I'm used to using the ASK masks when I use masks, and they have numbers on. Whereas this, it's kind of, it just looks like a sheet of sticker paper, right? There's nothing to show you what's what. So that's a little odd. It's not the end of the world, but it's we have the slipper tank. So these, let me just get my glasses. There it goes. So these have obviously been made, dedicatedly, made by Edward for Airfix. You've even got a little Airfix logo in the casting lug here. So I would be astonished if the originals of these weren't 3D printed. These obviously are cast. You can see this is like the casting lug. So basically this would be a vulcanized rubber mold, and then you pour the resin in, potentially under vacuum. Depends on how they do it. I don't know how Edward's process is. And then they will probably have rods that go through that they use then to lift all of these out, or to help them release them from the mold. Yes, these, I can say 100%, these are 3D printed parts. Somebody argued with me at least weren't 3D printed. The Masters, of course, they're not going to 3D print each individual piece. That's not what I meant when I said they're 3D printed. Here, see on this, these are 3D printing release tabs. This is where a 3D printer has its supports. Now this has been sanded. The master I'm talking about, before they created the mold for this. But this was it's a 3D printed part that has then been molded and then cast in resin, which is the proper way any resin part should be made in for volume production. Yeah. If you're just using 3D printed stuff, it's very low volume. Small numbers. I mean, not volume of part. So that's the slipper tank, which, of course, you don't have to use as a flying tray. You could use it on another thing, but it's 1/24 scale, so you still need a 1/24 scale Spitfire to use it on. And then we have all of these pieces. Now, personally, I hate these. And now I know they did make them from, old, I think they were fuel tanks to use as aerodynamic shields. But I think they look garbage on them. And of course, there are pictures of Spitfires just carrying the barrels with no aerodynamic fairing on them, which is the way I would go. So these barrels look very nice. You've got great detail. I think, in fact, let's get you close for these. Zoom in. So there we go. So you've got really nice the braces, I guess you would call them, mounting braces that go around the barrels. Obviously cast as well. They're cast hollow, which avoids a lot of weight and is a clever way of doing it, because it means you can also cast the ends separately. These look rather nicely done too. I would say almost undoubtedly 3D printed as well. There's no reason why they wouldn't 3D print these and then cast them as well. So these look really good. Barrels very nice. The racks, which look pretty good. I mean, that looks like, if I'm not mistaken, all they've done there is taken the 3D print, the master. I think the 3D print, that is the 3D print master, right? This whole shape. And then they've basically drilled the release things from it, molded it, you know, with the Airfix tab and everything. You can see the casting line. Come on, focus again. Thank you. That's the half of the mold. So they've just molded the 3D printed part, including its supports. So this would be the 3D printing support. And then you're just going to have to remove those. So they've used the 3D printing parts as also the casting lugs or the resin, which is clever. You know, it's a clever way to do it. And obviously this is Edward, who have quite a bit of experience with this stuff. And in the same way, you have the sway braces. The only concern I have here is that these look like they might be difficult to remove, especially these pieces. You're going to need a nice sharp blade to not break this piece here. And this is quite a thick connection. See here where it says left and right to distinguish the two. Oh, you don't need to take that off. No, I'm being silly, because that's going to be hidden when it goes in here. Obviously it goes the other way around, but it gets hidden inside the sway brace support pylon. So those are nice parts, nicely produced, nicely cast. Definitely casts of 3D prints, as suspected. You're going to have to be careful removing this piece from these casting lugs. That's the only thing. You're going to need to razor saw this. So if you buy this kit, invest in a razor saw, because that's the only way you're going to successfully remove these from the support material without damaging the parts, yourself, and your tools. So there we go. That's my special bonus extra for you, hot off the press, just come in today. I do have one more of these in stock. They do come, in addition with all this, they also do come with a beer glass. So if you order it from me, you still get the beer glass. So I've just got one left in stock. These are solid as well, these end parts, which I am not going to use. I might use them as a junk build. They look like parts of a spaceship, so maybe maybe there'll be those. But yeah, they're not going to be aerodynamic fairings for my beer barrels for sure. So yeah, I do have just one of these in stock. One was pre-ordered. I'm going to, obviously I've taken one out of stock to show you guys, and I may well do it myself. Maybe. Other than that, this all looks the same as prior. Let me just, sorry, I've got you zoomed in so you can't really see. This all looks exactly the same. Don't think they've changed any elements here. This all looks very familiar. I wonder, have they? I don't think they will have changed anything here. No, you've still got exactly the same parts. Okay, I want to check. One of my criticisms was that there wasn't a decal for this part. I wonder if they put one in. Nope. Okay. Yeah, that's a shame. Missed opportunity. I wonder if they... Well, no, I can almost guarantee they haven't, which, again, I think is a bit of a missed opportunity, seeing as they're getting Edouard to make some resin parts. Again, one of the only downsides of this kit is it does not have the extremely prominent canopy release mechanism on the inside of the canopy. That could have easily been a little resin addition with this, which is a shame. Okay, so now you get to this piece at the back. So they've basically, that's the old instructions. So the very first page, they've used the last part of it, of this assembling resin parts. And then they've got this piece at the bottom, which shows you which bits are to be removed. And then they have 2 extra pages showing do not use a knife for that. If you use a knife for this, you will stab yourself badly. I am almost 100% sure. That's terrible advice. Use a razor saw for that. Slipper tank obviously goes on just there very easily. I presume it tells you to use super glue and stuff. It does say here using a razor saw or modeling knife. Most of these are going to be, yeah, and it's epoxy or super glue. So they're giving you all the good stuff there. Yeah, for me, not that section. I mean, a blade is going to be used for these parts. Oh, they do ask you. No, they don't ask you to remove those. God, for a moment, I thought they were asking you to remove those. Yeah, I mean, these parts, it's going to be so, you got to be so careful with that. Okay. And then there's the, whoops, keep forgetting it doesn't reverse it for you. So there you go. Now, is that a beer glass worth an extra £20? I don't think it's an unreasonable ask, but I think £100 is much more reasonable. And I obviously can't sell it for £100. I'm restricted by Hornby. I can't sell it that cheap. Can't sell it for less than 10%. During the first however many days it is, 60 days of release or something. So, you know, the way I've got around it is I'm selling it for £120 full price, but you get a £20 voucher to use in the Man's Model Moment shop, which means that you effectively get it for £100. So I am compliant while still providing my customers with what I think the value of it is, really. The pint glass I forgot to bring with me, but it is a different pint glass from the normal Airfix pint glass. It is a specific pint glass. I mean, it's still just a pint glass, which is etched, you know, but but it's a nice, you know, and it's a different thing, so it's not bad. Right, let me just quickly go back to the chat. And let me also switch cameras. This time I will put the visual effects on. There we go. That's better. Just looks better than a green screen. So okay, so I think we're at the witching hour. I think unless there's any other questions or comments, what's your thoughts on the new 1/24th scale packaging? It is obviously the same Mark 9 that we had a couple of years ago, with those new parts, the new schemes. Again, I'm just not quite sure why they only included one, flying dray scheme. I think it's a little bit odd. I would have thought one normal scheme, in case you just want to buy, you just want the special beer glass, and you want to have the beer barrels and stuff as some extra bits, whatever. And then the others all flying drays would have been the way to go, but hey ho. As I say, I've got one of these in stock. I didn't go over the top. I mean, if you don't mind having one that's been opened, then I'm quite happy to sell the second one as well. But yeah, I do. That's all I've got at the moment. Potentially, I could get more if they haven't sold out with Airfix. The fact that they're still pushing them, I think, means that they haven't. And from the former poll that I did, which I'm sure some of you participated in, it was a pretty conclusive 80% of people that weren't kind of impressed with the release. So yeah, it's I'm not sure. A lot of people said that it was a great move. I think it's great that Airfix are trying new things. I would have preferred to have seen it in 48 scale. I think that would have had a lot wider appeal. I think that would have been a good price point then, sort of £50, maybe, with getting the extra stuff for the beer glass. Yeah, that would do it. Also, I don't think I didn't see a pin badge. Did it say it had a pin badge with it? Or was it only if you ordered them directly from Airfix? Not quite sure on that one. But I mean, this was let me just go to the poll and show you guys, which I'm sure you already know. Let me just pop it up for you. So this was the poll that I put up. Oh, where's that gone there? Okay. So about the flurry around it, good and bad. Oh, that was not quite what I wanted to do. There we go. Maybe make it a little bigger. There we go. Come on, Alex, get it sorted. There we go. It was an 80-20, the Pareto effect. 21% of people thought it was a letdown, and 20% said it was fantastic, or they'll pick one up. So that's perfectly balanced. 60%, almost 59% of people are like, yeah, it's okay, but I won't get one. So that's not a great ratio for Airfix. And I don't want to, rag on Airfix about this. I just think it's good that they're trying new things. I don't necessarily think that it was. It wouldn't have been the marketing move I would have made, let's say. Craig says, I still have the original start. I do like the fact that they're still producing the 1/24 scale kit. Well, I mean, they have the tools in this country. This is still made in the UK. So, I mean, basically, I think the main reason that Airfix don't manufacture, the reason that I think it was Dale that said this, they don't produce everything in the UK. I don't think cost actually is the overriding factor, because if you think about how much this kit costs with all this extra bits in, it's 120 quid. They did it for 99.99, £100 RRP as the Mark 8, which was still produced in this UK, didn't have anything extra. Right, £100 for a 124 scale Spitfire, which is, you know, the same as the Qatari basically, which is a 32nd scale. So I don't think it's cost. I think it's capacity. I don't think the UK factory that they got this done in has the capacity to produce thousands, you know, like 5,000 Sea Kings in 48 scale, for instance, at, you know, a reasonable drop of a hat kind of thing. A 24 scale Spitfire is a much shorter run. I don't know how many they've made, but it's not going to be 5,000. I don't think. You know. So, you know, they can kind of turn it on and off, this tooling, because it's local, which I think is great, and probably why they did it in this scale rather than 48th. I don't know. But, I think the pin badge was only if you pre-order direct from Airfix. Yeah, which kind of pisses me off, right? Because I pre-ordered from Airfix all of my trade kits. So why don't I get the pin badges? You know, it's like I funded them. So it just pissed me off that they do stuff DTC to cut the throats of retail yet again, much like their recent up to 50% off sale. It's like, I'm sorry, but fuck you, Hornby. You know, it's like they want their cake and they want to eat it too, which is they're just the worst company to do business with. They really are, which is a real shame, because I really like Dale, the designers at Airfix. Dale's team, I think, is great. I like a lot of what Airfix have been doing, some of the subjects they've been doing. But Hornby, they just happen to work for an evil monster of a company. Okay, so we come to 10 o'clock anyway, and rather than me getting into rant mode, which I don't want to do, I shall say thank you all for joining me this evening. Thank you for voting, if you voted. If you didn't vote in this one or want to vote in the next one, I'll be putting this up a couple of weeks before the next one. So in a week, 2 weeks' time, the new post will go up for the next one of these. Now we've got this regular schedule, I can plan ahead more, which will allow hopefully more interaction from you guys, so I can show you more of what you want to see rather than, you know, kind of doing it ad hoc the day before or whatever. And I know this time was a little bit rushed because this is the first one, but in the same way, next week we're going to be starting the well, actually no, I may change it next week, but we may do topic instead and then do group build the week after, to allow me to get stock in, because the build that we're going to be doing is going to be the 1/350th scale Type 45 destroyer from Airfix. So I'll be getting 10 of those in stock. So if you're thinking of that, let me know. I can put one aside for you, and then I'll put them up on the website when they come in. At the moment they're out of stock. I sold all prior stock. And then when we get to that, we can actually sit together on the bench. You can see what I'm doing and learn from my mistakes. You can see what to avoid when you're doing that. So we're doing a group build of it between a few of us YouTubers. John Alec is one of them. So this means I don't have to make a video on it because I'll be doing it live on stream. It's a cop out for me as well, but it's also a good way, I think, of involving other people in that group build. So again, thanks everybody for the first of this new regular cycle of rolling topics for the Man's Model Moments midweek model meet. I wish you a very good rest of your week. I hope it's good wherever you are. You have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, guys.